In a political landscape where credibility and authenticity are paramount, Donald Trump appears to be grasping at straws. As the 2024 election cycle heats up, business leaders who once supported him are now abandoning ship, throwing their weight behind Vice President Kamala Harris. Trump's response? Manufacturing fake endorsements from top executives in a desperate bid to regain ground. This brazen act is just the latest in a series of increasingly erratic moves by the former president, signaling his growing desperation as he loses the support of some of the country's most influential business figures. From CEOs to tech moguls, business titans are making it clear that they no longer view Trump as the leader capable of guiding the U.S. economy through the complex challenges of the future. Instead, they are rallying behind Kamala Harris, whose policies and steady hand offer stability and hope for the American economy. Meanwhile, Trump's fabrications, like falsely claiming an endorsement from Jamie Dimon, CEO of JPMorgan Chase, are backfiring, casting an even larger shadow over his campaign. Let's dive deep into Trump's latest blunders, the growing support for Kamala Harris among business elites, and what this means for the upcoming election. 1. The growing business exodus from Trump. Once hailed by some business leaders as a champion of corporate interests, Donald Trump now finds himself increasingly isolated from the very people who once backed him. As the 2024 election approaches, a wave of CEOs, founders, and small business owners are voicing their dissatisfaction with Trump's erratic policies and divisive rhetoric. Leading the charge is the newly formed group Business Leaders for Harris, which has publicly announced its support for Vice President Kamala Harris. This coalition includes some of the most influential figures in the business world, from Reid Hoffman, co-founder of LinkedIn, to Reed Hastings, CEO of Netflix. According to Hoffman, Trump's divisive rhetoric and economic policies have done more harm than good. Most CEOs I talk to agree, Hoffman said in a recent statement. Trump's disregard for stability and the rule of law would hurt our economy. This sentiment is echoed by other top executives who have grown weary of Trump's chaotic approach to governance. Business leaders are prioritizing stability and long-term economic growth over the populist policies that Trump has pushed during his tenure. For Hoffman and his peers, the decision to back Harris isn't just about rejecting Trump. It's about endorsing someone who understands the complex dynamics of the global economy. Kamala Harris, they argue, has the business acumen needed to steer the U.S. through uncertain times. 2. Trump's fake endorsements, a desperate ploy. Facing a mass exodus of business support, Trump has resorted to an unprecedented and audacious tactic, creating fake endorsements from some of the biggest names in corporate America. In one particularly outrageous instance, Trump falsely claimed that Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JPMorgan Chase, had endorsed him. The truth: Dimon's camp was quick to issue a public statement, categorically denying any such endorsement. It was a blatant lie, and Trump's attempt to mislead the public only served to further tarnish his reputation. The absurdity of this ploy didn't end there. Trump also falsely claimed support from other business leaders, but none were as prominent or as widely reported as the fabricated endorsement from Dimon. This kind of behavior from a former president is not just shocking. It's a reflection of his desperation as he watches his support erode. While Trump has long been known for bending the truth, his decision to create outright fabrications about who supports him represents a new low. It's clear that as his standing with business leaders declines, he is willing to take increasingly reckless actions to maintain the illusion of strength. 3. The real business backers. Harris gaining momentum. While Trump fakes endorsements, Kamala Harris is securing real ones, and they're coming from some of the most respected names in business. The Business Leaders for Harris coalition, which has been growing steadily in recent months, is a testament to her growing appeal among corporate leaders. Figures like Reed Hastings of Netflix and Barry Diller of IC have publicly stated their support for Harris, citing her steady leadership and pragmatic approach to economic policy. In particular, Harris has garnered praise for her understanding of global trade and her commitment to building a strong, sustainable economy. Hastings, in a recent interview, highlighted the dangers of Trump's trade policies, specifically his tariffs, which Hastings argues would drive inflation higher and harm the U.S. economy. Tariffs do two things, Hastings said. They drive domestic inflation because of higher prices, and they generate retaliation from our foreign partners. It's not just tech giants like Hastings and Hoffman who are backing Harris. Small business owners are also rallying behind her, recognizing that Trump's policies would be disastrous for their industries. Michael Wood, a small business owner from Texas, has been vocal about his concerns regarding Trump's approach to trade and tariffs. Wood, who runs a commercial truck and trailer maintenance company, has said that Trump's tariffs would be incredibly inflationary and would reverse all the progress made in recent years in fighting inflation. 4. Trump's failed economic promises. One of the most glaring failures of Trump's presidency was his inability to deliver on the grand economic promises he made during his 2016 campaign. Perhaps the most notable example is the closure of the General Motors plant in Warren, Michigan. In 2016, Trump stood before crowds in Warren and promised, "If I'm elected, you won't lose one plant. You'll have plants coming into this country." But by 2019, GM had closed its Warren plant, leaving thousands of workers without jobs. This broken promise is emblematic of Trump's larger economic failures. Despite his claims of being a pro-business president, Trump's policies have often done more harm than good. His tariffs, in particular, have been widely criticized for driving up costs for American businesses and consumers alike. In contrast, Harris has been praised for her pragmatic approach to economic policy. Her supporters argue that she understands the complexities of global trade and the importance of fostering a stable, business-friendly environment. Harris's economic proposals, which focus on supporting small businesses, increasing wages, and lowering housing and grocery costs, have resonated with voters and business leaders alike. 5. The business community's verdict. Harris over Trump. The numbers don't lie. A recent poll conducted by Data for Progress revealed that voters trust Kamala Harris more than Donald Trump when it comes to managing the economy. Harris is seen as more capable of supporting small businesses, increasing wages, and keeping the cost of living in check. This growing trust in Harris's economic leadership is reflected in the shifting allegiances of business leaders. In a stunning development, Ben Horowitz, a tech titan who had previously backed Trump, has now publicly declared his support for Harris. This is a significant blow to Trump's campaign, as Horowitz was one of the few high-profile tech figures who had initially supported the former president. Horowitz's decision to back Harris underscores the growing consensus within the business community that Trump's policies are not only ineffective, but also dangerous. As more and more business leaders come out in support of Harris, the contrast between her steady leadership and Trump's chaotic approach becomes even more stark. Donald Trump's decision to manufacture fake endorsements from business leaders is a clear sign of his desperation. As he watches his support among corporate elites dwindle, Trump has resorted to lies and fabrications in a bid to maintain his image. But the reality is that business leaders are increasingly turning their backs on him and embracing Kamala Harris, whose policies offer a more stable and prosperous future for the American economy. With prominent figures like Reid Hoffman, Reed Hastings, and Ben Horowitz publicly backing Harris, it's clear that Trump's influence in the business world is waning. As we move closer to the 2024 election, the choice for business leaders and for voters has never been clearer. Kamala Harris represents the future of American economic leadership, while Donald Trump is stuck in the past, clinging to discredited policies and false claims. In the end, the business community's shift away from Trump and towards Harris is a reflection of a broader trend. Americans want stability, progress, and real solutions, and that's exactly what Kamala Harris is offering. Meanwhile, Trump's desperation is on full display, and it's becoming increasingly clear that his time as a serious contender for the presidency may be running out. As the election draws near, one thing is certain. The battle for the future of the American economy is on, and Kamala Harris is winning.